we came to the point of open visions. Charismatic folks are obsessed with open visions, like as if it was the highest or more advanced level of God communicating. And I do love it, and I do believe people who talk about these things, but I don't consider it to be more advanced than any other means of communication with God. As I've already said, it is only a tool that God uses to show you the truth. It's not the tool that matters, but the truth it shows to you. And I absolutely think that it's a good thing to desire that, like wanting it and being excited about, but don't be obsessed about it. Like sometimes I see people, like they think if they ever get to the point of having open visions, this is when they will really hear God. This is when they really know what is it like to be spiritual and having a fellowship with God. And to be honest, this is not what I see. It's like sometimes people have like crazy open visions and they are like touched by it, but then they forget it and they still struggle with their life. And sometimes people like understand the truth deep inside without anything crazy, and everything about them is different. And I can say the same thing about myself. Like sometimes after a crazy experience, I have a few days of like, feeling really good. And then I still have to face all the lies I believed. And I still had to like go through my healing journey. So it is really good. It can really help. Like it's a shock therapy. Like God shows you like something like, wow, very impressive. And it can help you like realize the truth, maybe sometimes more effectively, but it's not always more effective. So there is this lie that if I could only have that experience, I would be changed forever. No, you wouldn't. I've already seen it in others. I've already seen it in me. It is not always the craziest experiences that make a biggest change in people. And still, I love crazy stuff, and it's okay to want it. And if you have it, please enjoy it. I'm not against it, and God is not against it. It's just not the measure of your spirituality or relationship with God. It happened to Peter in the New Testament that this cover or blanket, I don't know how it is translated in Hungarian, in English. I only know the Hungarian expression. So this bunch of creatures, impure creatures, descended to him, and God said like, eat it. And it was quite controversial to hear. Like it was against the word of God at that time. Like it is clearly written in the Old Testament that you are not supposed to eat those things, and God did say to him that he should eat it. So maybe, just maybe, God can sometimes give you a higher truth than you already know. And many people would not have a peace about that revelation. Because it's against the Bible, it's against what we think God would say. And God did say something that is seemingly contrary to the scriptures. It's just another path. But it's like rabbit trail. Yeah, this is what it's called. So yeah, it can happen that God reveals something to you that is against everything you believed in. And you can hold it with open hands and wait until like God like really convinces you like, oh, it was me. And some, maybe it was easier to Peter to believe it like when it like happened like real in front of his eyes. Maybe it was more shocking, I don't know. So it is very biblical to have open visions and be free to have them. Actually, it was quite important. Like, this is how evangelizing the non-Jews started. So this is when Peter like first realized like that he should preach to like the Gentiles, yeah. So yeah, it was quite important, and it's so great that like God showed it to me. But of course, we need to know that it happened because like Peter was waiting for the dinner and he was having a nap on the attic, and this is when this happened. So if you want to have open visions, don't strive for it. This is not how it happens. It's not an award or reward to those who do really good. And I also need to tell you that many times it happens in the state of rest or being calm. So it does not really happen like when you are crossing the street. So it's not like an LSD trip, like all of a sudden you can't like react to your surroundings. Like God gives you this kind of thing when it's safe. And he doesn't forces this on you. If it happens you unexpected, it is probably because you've told God many times like he can do whatever he wants, and he took that one seriously. So I don't think it will be forceful or aggressive, but it can be a shock or a surprise. Once I was hanging out with little kids who constantly had these heavenly visitations, or like they saw heavenly things while they saw the earthly things. And that little boy was walking on the edge of a sofa, and he was telling me like, I'm walking on a branch with Jesus in heaven or something like that. And I was like, oh, please God, may the branch in heaven be just as long as this sofa on the earth, because that guy is gonna really crash on the floor. And actually, the branch in heaven did end at the same point as the sofa on the earth. So God is really like knows what he does when he gives us open vision, and it won't be like in a dangerous situation. It's not like you're flying a plane and God just like, oh, shows you that you're dancing on a field and you have a plane crash or something. So it's like you don't have to be afraid of that. People usually have that in prayer, in rest, before or after falling asleep, sitting in a chair, contemplating, or like it's not like you need to work for it to be spiritual enough to have that. It's more like God gives it to you when it's not dangerous. And it's also not like God wants to like give those things constantly to you, because he made you live on the earth because he wanted you to live on the earth. So it's not like he wants you to like constantly have that trip kind of things. But it's okay if you have them regularly, and it's okay to want it regularly. It's not just like if you become really spiritual, you will have always that kind of crazy things. God is your spouse, you live together, you have everyday conversations, and it does not always look like something crazy. I do not have open visions very often. Like I do have a lot of visions, but they mainly happen inside. And I'm absolutely happy for people who have open visions. I sometimes envy them, but not too much. I would love to have more, but it's okay the way God communicates to me. Actually, I really enjoy it. Actually, if all of my visions were open visions, it would ruin my life. Like I'm very visual. I have a lot of visual ways of communicating with God, and it's so great that I'm able to do life by having those pictures, and I'm not constantly shocked. So yeah, it's the protection of God that you don't always have those things. Like it can be emotionally challenging that to have like crazy things going on all the time. Like sometimes like when angels appear, like you do get afraid, or like yeah, it's kind of shock in the best possible way, but maybe emotionally you couldn't bear having them all the time because you're in a physical body and it's fine to have a normal physical life. Sometimes people are stressed over it, like they should get this and they try to manipulate God and they really want it and they depressed and all that. I think this is the closest way of getting deceived, or the best way to become deceived or fall into manipulation when you want it really hard and you think that you will only be fine if you have one of those experiences. So sometimes I do meet people who think like they will be only really spiritual and they will have a true relationship with God, or all of their problems in their life will be solved when they have an open vision and they strive for it and work for it. And I'm like, this is not how it goes. Like it means a lot, but it also means nothing. Like it's about God and the truth and not the ways he shows himself. Yeah, so I love listening to those stories people have, and yeah, I'm open to it. And don't be afraid like to have them. Like don't resist it. Sometimes people don't have them because they resist it. It's something like God absolutely takes care of. Like I have little kids seeing everything in the spirit realm, like seeing demonic things happening, and they are not scared, they're not frustrated, they don't have nightmares, they have fun, like, oh, the angels are fighting them off, and they laugh. So there was a time when I was scared, like taking my little sister to events that were like, at the time I was really much into like deliverance. I'm not that much into that right now, but and I was like scared, like, oh, she can see in the spirit realm what she might see. And she was having fun. First she was shocked, like, oh, what is going on? But if she wasn't traumatized or something, like if you saw the same things in like real life, you would probably be like traumatized by it. But they did see it in real life and it had like zero negative effect on them. So when God gives you an open vision, it won't like give you a mental breakdown. So open yourself up to it. God knows how to manage a normal life while you have that. I tell you a story when I had an open vision. As I said, it happens very rarely. I was laying on the grass with my little sister, and she sees in spirit way better than I do. And we were just watching clouds, and the sun was shining, and we were so calm, and we just saw this sparkling thing falling on us. And I really tried to like find it out, like, am I seeing it in spirit? But it does seem like natural. And it was so natural and physical that those little sparkly things that were falling on us like started to cover our skin, and they got into our eyes, and our eyes started to water, like it got teary because of the things falling into it. It was so real. And yeah, we had these shiny tears. And it had like not much meaning to us. It was just fun. Like, oh God. As my little sister says, our heavenly friends are playing with us. This is how she calls the angels and the persons of the Trinity heavenly friends. Yeah, she had much fun with them. So yeah, sometimes it's like more about fun than a purpose. So sometimes we want to like, ooh, God told it to us because he wanted something with it. Like sometimes he just wants to reveal that he's fun and he loves us and he's close and he's ready to play. So most of the things God is communicating are not informations, and it is rightfully so. So don't. So you think like it is gonna answer all the things you have in your life when you have open visions? It's not so. And even if you do have, it reveals the simplest things. Like you see God on the throne surrounded by angels. Like what's new on that? Like there's no new information. You just become more aware of God. You just sense that he's loving while he's reigning. And that's it. So yeah, don't mystify it too much. It is available and enjoy it if you have it and desire it if you don't have it, but don't be overly anxious about it. God has millions of ways of communicating with you, and none of them is like more true than the other.